We have already seen how powerful MetaHuman is in Unreal Engine 5.6, with the MetaHuman Character Plugin giving you full functionality directly inside the editor. It offers incredibly realistic results and a host of new features that make creating custom characters truly awesome. Even custom face creation with MetaHuman identity has been greatly enhanced, providing much more accurate face deformation. However, this plugin still has several limitations. One of the biggest is its constraints on body modeling parameters, which prevent you from creating truly short characters like a child or even a baby metahuman. But in this video, we are going to break past that limitation. I will show you how to scale down every aspect of your metahuman to create a child character by modifying the metahuman plugin directly in the C++ source code. And this works even if you are using launcher version like me. You don't have to download the source code for this. Okay, so let's jump right into the action. I used ChatGPT to generate beautiful concept art of the faces. I created a child face and a baby face and then submitted these images to Tripo AI to generate 3D head models for them. The results were not super realistic, but since we are going to generate the final head using the MetaHuman's identity solver anyway, this was good enough for me. Previously, I was experimenting with Meshy AI for the 3D head generation, but honestly, for this particular head meshes, it was often producing very messed up and unusable results. Tripo, on the other hand, really worked well to create clean retopology. Once you have the head mesh generated in Tripo, you can simply download it as FBX and import it as a static mesh back into Unreal. So next I used the MetaHuman identity solver to create the heads out of these two models. I started by working with the girl head model. I confirmed the MetaHuman character's head to match the child face and the result is pretty amazing. The body is still a full-size adult, but the head has conformed beautifully to actually look like a child's face. Head mesh conformation in Unreal Engine 5.6 is genuinely very impressive. In my previous video, I discussed the limitations of the body modeling sections, especially the lowest settings for height and other proportions that often prevent you from accurately creating very small characters like young children, babies or dwarfs. I showed you how you could work around this using bone transformations in the animation blueprint, but while that method lets you fake a smaller body, it's not quite similar to create an anatomically correct child character. This time we are going to break that limitation so that it is convenient for me to be able to create even shorter characters. To do this, we will need to modify the MetaHuman Character Plugin itself using Unreal Engine C++. Even if you are not familiar with Unreal C++, don't worry, you can still use this method by downloading the modified version of the plugin from the link in the description. Simply paste it directly into your project's plugins directory. Unreal will automatically recognize it and use the modified plugin instead of the engine's default one. And if you are already familiar with Unreal C++, then this is going to be pretty simple and straightforward for you. Inside your source code editor, for me it is Rider, just navigate over to the engine's plugins directory where the MetaHuman Character plugin is available. Open the plugin in your Explorer, copy the plugin folder directly to your project's plugin directory, and then simply regenerate the project files. So once the MetaHuman Character plugin is compiled into my project, I went to the MetaHuman Character Editor module. Under the Tools directory, I located the file called MetaHuman Character Editor Body Editing Tools. In this file, I found this update constraint in item function, which is being called inside the body constraint to constraint items function. Normally this takes in the input constraints like the mean measurement value, but to remove that limitation, I set the output constraints mean measurement directly to 0. So that's it. Just modify this particular line and then recompile your project. And Unreal will now allow you to scale the body down further than before. So now after you have built the project, you can simply go back to your MetaHuman character editor and test it out. Now, as you can see, I have access to scaling the body down all the way to 0 using the sliders, but you can also see that it's not as simple as that. Although we have removed the default restrictions, MetaHuman blend shapes are not designed for child or baby body types. So if you push the sliders too far, you will start to see blend shape overlaps, causing the shapes to flicker and become highly disproportionate. In practice, this means that while technically you can slide the constraints down to 0, in reality you can only go so far before the mesh starts to break and look unnatural. To avoid this, I recommend working in small increments and constantly checking the character in the viewport. Look for areas where the mesh begins to collapse, especially around the shoulder, chest and waist. These are typically the first places to show distortion. Watch how I am very carefully changing the parameters, making sure that any of the sections over here don't get distorted or start flickering. This is crucial because pushing the sliders too far can quickly lead to broken geometry. I want to mix this with the blend tool as well, which allows you to blend multiple body types together. You can use this to fix certain areas that aren't working out perfectly with the modeling tool alone. It's a great way to fine tune specific regions of the mesh. Here is the result I got. I set the height to about 116 centimeter. Going any lower than this starts to mess up the mesh and create serious distortions. Once I was done adjusting the body constants, I created the rig and tested out some animations using different facial and body anim sequences. And look at the final output. How cute and adorable this little girl looks. Even though the body needed a lot of adjustments to get the proportions almost perfect and still requires fine tuning, the generation of head mesh was very simple and it is mind blowingly accurate. So next we are going to work with creating a character from this baby face. Our challenge here is not to make a literal baby because that would require scaling the character way smaller than anything we have done so far, and MetaHuman body blend shapes are not meant for that. Yeah, just look at this. The head conformation is so darn accurate. Now let's move on to adjusting the body parameters. As usual, be extra careful when you're adjusting, especially the legs and the waist areas, and avoid any potential distortions. Wherever further adjustments are not possible, I always use the blend tool to blend only specific areas. The waist area was particularly tricky for me to adjust, so I had to spend a lot of time with different settings to see what works best. Also, the clavicle area has really great chance of getting distorted pretty easily, so be extra careful in the upper torso as well. Once you're done with the body, you can continue adjusting your face. Look for any areas of distortion, especially towards the neck region. And you can use the blend tool quite conveniently to fix those distorted areas. So I'm satisfied with the output so far. This is the shortest character I could have created from this MetaHuman Creator tool, even with the modified version of it. So next we are going to use Control Rig to further customize the proportions of the character's body. Now let's understand how the control rig is working over here. So in the control rig, I have already imported the child character mesh and set up the necessary logic. Let me walk you through the flow. We start with the construction event, which runs once when the rig is initialized. Here I am calculating the offset between the IK foot bone and the corresponding FK foot bone. I am using foot L since both feet share the same offset in this case, so it doesn't matter which foot you are using. The result is stored in a variable called initial foot offset. And in the forward solve, which is executed at every frame, we are first scaling down both the thigh bones. So let me disable this pin first. Here you can see that when I'm scaling down the thigh bone, the character feet is moving upward. So here I'm calculating the new foot offset again from the foot L in this case with respect to the corresponding IK foot bone. So over here I'm getting the difference between the new foot offset and the initial foot offset and adding that to the current translation of the pelvis bone so that the pelvis is adjusted accordingly, making sure that the 2 feet are connected to the ground. Over here we are using the variable spine scale to scale the spine bone. However, since the neck is a child of the spine hierarchy, it also inherits the scale. To counteract this, we apply an inverse scale to the neck over here. We are also applying further scaling to clavicle, pelvis, legs and even upper arms. So it's completely up to you how you are going to set up the variables in your control rig. Of course, you can also do it externally in your 3D applications, but the idea was to do the entire thing inside Unreal and also give you a basic understanding of how you can use this kind of customizations directly within control rig. Alright, so here I added the control rig node in my anim blueprint and assigned the corresponding control rig CR body adjustments. Now we can adjust these respective variables to set the corresponding bone scales for our character. And that's it for today's video. Also, the complete project featuring 2 example MetaHuman characters that you see over here, along with the full controlling blueprint and the modified MetaHuman character plugin, is also available in my Patreon page. If you'd like to support my work and get access to more in-depth resources, consider becoming a member. The link is given in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video.